So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining today's session. I'm really excited to have Laurie MacPherson join us today. Laurie and I have been talking together for years. I think Laurie used part of the early days of our community. Um, and so we've sort of talked a lot over the years, but we did a session. Did we do a session long while ago? I'm not sure if this is
Yeah,
the
we
first
did,
session.
yeah, a while back.
A really while back. Anyway, so I'm excited to have Laurie join because Laurie brings really practical advice and insights about helping and supporting your job search. For those of you who don't know me, because you haven't met me before, I'm Katie Freedman and I set up Flexible Working People now 8 years ago, which is crazy, when my kids were like, I don't know, 4 and 6 or something, or 3 and 5. Um, and I set it up because I was massively struggling with my own job search. I'd hit a massive wall. I took redundancy from Microsoft, where I'd been for 9 years. I had this big career, and then suddenly I found myself really struggling to get myself back into the workplace. And at the time, there wasn't as much flexible working, and I just couldn't find the role that gave me the balance. And like confidence took an all-time dip, and I just spent a really long time trying to work out what my next steps were. Anyway, this session is not about me, but it's more that I understand the challenges around job search, and I speak to people every day who are really struggling. And I want to bring you value, and the reason why Laurie MacPherson, hello Laurie, is joining us is because she's an experienced career mentor and she's a job search strategist. And we know how hard and tough job search can be. There's a process and a strategy to it, which I think that when you get started, it just feels like this massive piece. It's like, I need to get my CV done. I need to get this done. I need to be on LinkedIn. I need to send out I need to practice for a job interview. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it kind of just feels so big. And so Laurie has what she calls the BOLD or B.O.L.D approach, which kind of breaks it down and gives you a strategy for how to approach it. I think when you've got a clear strategy, it makes the job search so much easier because it can feel really overwhelming. And I know that people are getting rejections and just not getting kind of their foot in the door. And it's like, how do you go from loads of applications into actually being seen? So that's kind of what today's session is about. Laurie has helped, and continues to help hundreds of women land roles they love, and also negotiate salaries they deserve and jobs that fit their skills. So today it's going to be a session of practical tips and ways for how we can help you to find a job now. So I'm going to introduce Laurie. Hello, Laurie. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit of background kind of about you and your focus and kind of how you work, and just kind of give everyone a flavour of who you are and how you help?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Katie. So it's lovely to be here, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I am, as Katie said, a career mentor and really focus on job search strategy. And I came to this through my background was in retail and in travel. And then I started working in employability 10 years ago now, helping folk back to work. And it was a difficult job. I had to motivate people who often hadn't worked for a long time for a variety of reasons. My biggest success and the thing I'm most proud of there is helping someone who hadn't had a job for 37 years. Yes, that's 37, back to work. And as you can imagine, that took a lot of confidence building and a lot of motivating and a lot of understanding what the real barriers were to get her into work. So absolutely loved that role and did quite a lot of different tasks within that. I ran the workshops for our clients. I helped employers to interact with our clients. And then we were ironically made redundant after about 2 years that the process started. The contract was changing from central government to Scottish government, and I was going to be out of work. So I decided to focus on starting up my own business, a bit of employability, a little bit of management training back then as well, which I fully pivoted during COVID and have been helping people in my own business now for 6 years to get back into work or to get into work that they love. And as time's gone on, I've really focused in on what I'm best at, and that is helping mid and senior level women and some men. Hi, Stephen. I do often get a husband or a brother or a partner sent over to me, but usually I help women to get into roles that they love and, as Katie said, at the salary that they deserve, because there's a bit of negotiation that we need to think about as well. Mostly work with women just due to the confidence barriers, things that women need, and a real understanding of the flexibility that we want and or need, and both are absolutely fine. I myself want flexibility because it's good for everyone, and for some people I understand that that is absolutely a need, and that can really, I've seen the stats that can stop people from going back into work. The reason I work with mid and senior level women usually is because it's not that we haven't got lots to offer. It's often that we struggle to distill that and to really sell that to an employer. So I tend not to work so much, though I do a little bit with graduates and students, etc. It's mostly women of a certain age who have all these things to offer and are not quite hitting the mark in terms of showing these to an employer in this market. And we'll talk a little bit more about that today.
Brilliant. Okay, so thanks for that introduction. Sorry, I just realised I myself was not on video when we started this. I didn't know that. So if you can see me now, hello. I wasn't on video. But anyway, Laurie, thanks for the introduction. So let's dive in, because let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's start by, when people come to you for help with their job search, what are the things that you're mostly seeing, or what's the biggest misconception or surprise or thing that you see that they're doing that you can help with? Well, tell us about kind of when they first come to you, what's the norm? What does that look like?
Yeah, so quite often they're applying for the wrong job, Katie. So they're applying for a job that they don't fit. So what happens is they apply for a job they don't fit, but they fancy it. They think, oh, I could do that, or I've done something like that, or I would like that. So they apply for this job, and at any other time, certainly that I've been working, that would have been fine. They would probably have got a shout. But in this market, you'll know this. There's so much competition. Employers are choosing the least risky choice. They're choosing the most obvious choice. And there's a number of reasons for that, political and economic, which I'm not going to go into. But research from the CIPD has shown that employers are the most risk averse they've been in 10 years. And yes, that includes the COVID years. So they want an absolute easy, not you could do it, not I might do it, but I have done this before, and here was the result. So that's what employers are looking for. So if candidates aren't that, they're very, very unlikely to get a job right now, unless they've done the work and have built a network and have got an in at the company they're looking for who can recommend them and their work. So all that happens is they apply for the job that they weren't going to get, they don't get it, they feel rubbish, rinse and repeat, repeat and repeat, and they just end up feeling absolutely awful. And they come to me saying things like, I'm useless, I can't sell myself, I don't know how to do it. Meanwhile, they're hearing from well-meaning, very lovely, well-meaning friends and family, you'd be great at that, why don't you try this? Anyone who's given you that advice, who's not in the job market right now or in the last sort of 6 months to a year, doesn't get it. So nice though they might be, they just don't understand what it's like. Combined with the use of AI in hiring, combined with hearing about you have to use the keywords, you have to tick the boxes. It's no wonder people think, I'll just stay where I am, thanks very much, or I'll just continue to churn out. Lots of people are churning applications as well, Katie, because they get desperate. Understandably, we all have to earn a living. So they churn out all these applications, feeling worse and worse and worse. So my first thing, and sometimes it is, stop churning out applications. Let's work out, what do you want? And is that realistic in this market? Lots of the time, people are looking for a job that they're not going to fit now. They need to do something in between. And I always say, I used to work on cruise for a number of years. We didn't get from the summer port to the winter port, unfortunately, by pressing a button. You have to do some chugging through the water. It's called a repositional cruise. It's 6 days at sea with no sign of land. This is the same for lots of job seekers. They have to do a bit of a reposition in between to get you what you need for the next thing. So the first problem I'm seeing is folk aren't applying quite simply for the right job. If you don't fit it, don't apply. And yes, I know the stats for men and women. It doesn't matter. You'll know this, Katie. You're absolutely inundated with completely inappropriate applications right now from folk who just want anything. That's why it's not working. AI is a tool which recruiters and HR managers use to help them to screen, not because they're horrible human beings, but because they're being inundated by hundreds and sometimes 1,000 applications, and they just need something to help. AI isn't anything to panic about. If you fit and you're telling it how you fit, and then you're showing it these same words and you're using a lot of the same language, you're fine. AI is just a screening
Yeah.
tool.
So can I just jump in? Because we have an enormous
Absolutely.
amount of people in the community who are trying to career pivot and they've been in one role and they're looking to make change. And a lot of the people in our community are at that sort of older, sort of midlife stage where they want more flexibility. They're happy to do something different to get that flexibility. So they're saying, so I get very experienced candidates who say, actually, I want to do something else, and they don't know how to make that pivot. And I think there'll be a lot of people. If there's anyone on listening who's happy to sort of make comments in the chat box, please do, and tell us whether you're looking to pivot. I mean, I think the easy bit is when you have a job and you want to change and you have all the skills and then you apply. That's kind of a straight line. But what you're describing is that messy, murky bit where they don't have all the
Yeah.
skills. They're marketing directors who are saying, I'm happy to do an admin job because I want, I just
Yeah.
want to earn some money, and they're not even getting through the door. And then there are people who have got the skills and the qualifications, but don't know where to start with the job search. So it's not just that messy bit. There are just people who are wanting a job, but it's just so competitive that people are finding it really hard to stand out in a competitive market. So an admin job goes up with a bit of flexibility, or a marketing job with a bit of flexibility, and hundreds of people apply for it and they're not getting that
Yeah.
standout. So there's definitely people looking to make career pivots, and that's super challenging. And as a recruiter, I find it really hard because I want to help people pivot, but if they don't tick all those boxes, they're not getting onto the shortlist. And we need to find a way to support them. So those murky waters that you talk about are critical in the job search, because they can't go from operations director to executive EA because it's local and it's 2 days a week. And that's what I'm seeing right now. So there'll be people
Yeah.
on this call with all different types of requirements. And the volume game is a mess because you just throw CVs at people. You just keep sending the same cover letter. And recruiters can see this, that's a volume game because they're not tailored and they're not approaching it. So let's get practical a bit. We talk about how to find a role. Let's, maybe we can get into now, what are those stages? How are people supposed to navigate those murky waters? And what are the stages that they can do in their job search to help them to stand out in a world of AI and, competition and tough job market where employers are very risk averse and just want the boxes ticked?
Yeah, brilliant. And absolutely this, and sorry, I'm not seeing a chat. Chat's enabled on my screen in case I don't know if there's a function for anybody else, just so we're not wondering why everyone's not chatting to us. So yeah, absolutely that. You've been a operations director, but now you just want a job. That employer doesn't necessarily want and need everything that you've got. And again, it's not personal, it's just that they believe you'll leave for something better really quickly. And there's a huge recruitment cost there. So it's about taking the time to tell them on the cover letter, having worked at senior level and now looking for this reason. I always say the cover letter should do two things, and please don't skip it. Yes, recruiters might not read it, but the hiring managers will. So why them, and really specific. So why this specific role at this time? And then why you? Why do you want this? Make it clear. If you are changing and pivoting, tell them, not with wishy-washy language like work-life balance. Nobody wants to hear that, but with something that explains, you want to get into this as a more secure option for longer term. Something that is real to you. And the why them, I've had so many clients say to me, yeah, tell them I want to work there because I want to help people. And it's just so, it's not sticky, it just doesn't, it's not exciting, is it? It's just, nah. So is it going to stand out? The real reason you want this specific role, you believe in the aims and objectives they're trying to create, you've been a customer, you understand that their new 10-year plan is something you want to help them to work towards. Find something that they can stick, that stands out, that is a little bit sticky, and use that cover letter to tell them. Because what they won't just do, and I see this happening, I was an ops director, now I can't even get a junior level admin role, but it's because it's not personal. They don't think you're going to stick it, and they've got someone who's already done that admin role, 10 of those people, 20 of those, 30 of those people waiting in the wings. So tell them why. The other really practical tip is, if you do want to make a pivot, you probably have to do network in between, so that you've got all your people in your old space, You need people in the new space that understand what you offer. And you can have a job created for you. I've seen it so many times. You can have a small business say, you're exactly what we need, not caring when or how you do that, genuinely, but they need to know that you exist. So that's what using LinkedIn is all about. That's what going to local networking or attending face to face, but being really clear that this is what I have to offer. I was helping a client the other day, Katie, and she was, I'm going to this event. She was really pleased. She'd booked something. I said, fantastic. Don't say, don't really know what I want. I don't mind. I can help anyone. I could, you go in as they're ready to go, say that you're a project manager who's had a break and is now looking to get back in. Not that you're not sure which title, and women are really bad for this. I don't mind what's next. That's not helpful, because actually people want to help you, but they need something to hook and to remember in their brain. They'll remember, oh, that woman is this, that person does that. They need something to go on. So giving them a wishy-washy, I don't mind what I do, I can help anyone, I can do this. We think we're being open and helpful and compliant, we're actually muddying the waters again. So first advice is pick a thing. I know that's hard. Pick something that obviously reasonable, that could be your next move, and talk about you are that. I'm a this, looking to get a more flexible role. I'm looking to do it for this type of company. Again, you can change it. You can, if something comes up that's not that, that's fine. But people want to help. So make it really easy for them and make a network in your new space. The most common one I hear, Katie, is women in banking, say, who want to work for a more purposeful organisation, who want to get into charities. Charities need your skills, but you're up against someone who's already in the charity sector. So how do you get those skills in the charity sector so that they can hire you? You probably have to go and do a board or a committee role or some sort of role that's aligned with a charity, even if it's taking on the CSR, the charity coordinator role while you're in work, and then moving across. Now, nobody wants to hear this, but it means there's probably a 6 month to a year's lag between where you are now and what you want. But that's the bit that's for you to fill. If you want to pivot and you've got no experience in your new sector, what do they need? What do you have? And be really, really honest. What is the gap? If what they're looking for is charity experience, how can you get that? They won't just not need that because you want to move in. They do need it. So how can you get it? Is it a committee? Is it a charity? Can you do stuff with a school or a PTA or something that plugs that gap, gets you to meet new people? You can add them on LinkedIn, go to some events, tell them that you're looking for this type of role. And then after that time, they turn around and say, oh, we're desperately needing someone with your skills. And they offer you a job that is just, can you fill this thing? And they'll not care where you work, how you work. And I know this sounds really unrealistic if you're used to working for a big box and the rules are the rules. But if you go to a smaller company, quite often they'll say, here's what I need you to do. Don't actually really care when or how you do that. And that also includes, are you going to be open to things like contract, like freelance, project? A bit of this and a bit of that. Sometimes that's the only way to make it happen. It might not look like another role that's pre-packaged already. So the main thing for me is network, explain why, and position yourself, knowing that that's not the next step. It's a bit away. So how do we get that? What I would say is it's not anybody else's job to fill that gap of the experience that you don't have. That's on you. And it might be difficult to work out how you do this. And again, that's where I come in. But you need to get that experience so that you've got it to give them. And also then you'll have a network of those people. If you did 6 months on a committee, you'd also have a network of folk who are already doing the thing that you can then speak to about how they got in, what they did, how they can open doors for you. And it's really that's really, really practical and tangible, hopefully to help you to move across, get the experience that you need. Supposing it's offering yourself up to a small business for a project, and then you have evidence that you've done that. For example, my project manager last week is going to do some volunteer work around digital transformation. so that she can then evidence, I've got this recent relevant work which took the project from this to this, and that's the result she can then use on her CV, cover letter, and interview. Without that, you have to understand that in this market, it's unlikely they'll hire you because they've got folk who've already got it.
So I love that you're giving people hard truths here, because I think it is true. I mean, it is. It's a hard truth, but it is a truth. It is hard to pivot without skills. And I think that you've touched on so many different points here. So I'm just going to try and unpick a few here. So one is the value that you bring. I think that people put their CVs together, but they don't focus on the value. Companies want to see the value that you bring. So even if you are trying to pivot, it's about thinking really clearly and carefully about those transferable skills. I don't see those enough, and how do you present those in your CV? And that's a real issue. It's like, here's a list of everything I've done, but then that next stage, and I don't know, Laurie, if that's something that you encourage people to do, but it's like, how do you rethink your skill set? How do you take yourself from, I'm working with someone at the moment myself who's a property guy, and all he talks about is property and what he's done, but he doesn't want to be in property anymore. And I'm like, let's park the word property and let's just talk about all this amazing stuff you've done in terms of commercial deals and transferable skills, and suddenly and leadership skills and management skills and commercial understanding. And it's like, a company who talks to you is going to see all of this incredible value if you just stop talking about doing property deals. So that's just an example. So it's really, it's about flipping the narrative in your head and starting to think about why someone would want to hire you. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, you talked to Laurie about upskilling, another incredibly key area that I think that people think that they can just go from A to B without that middle bit. And we have to invest in ourselves. We can't just move without having any skills. So a lot of people say, but I've done this and I've been organized, I'm showing my transferable skills. But actually, you know, have you done a course in Excel or Outlook? Do you understand? If you want to move into this, like, what have you invested in yourself to upskill to be able to move? Because if you haven't, then you're not, you know, you're not going to be putting yourself in a good position. And then the networking piece that you touched on as well is paramount. Like, if you want to move, networking is your strongest, fastest way into a new job. You know, and your network is who you've worked with in the past, who you know, your friends, everybody. It's not like going into a room full of strangers and having one of those conversations. It's just about increasing that view of what that awful world networking means. It actually just means telling people that you're looking and putting yourself out there and having a conversation. And the other thing you touched on is the worst thing, which is, I don't mind what I do, I just want to work flexibly, or I don't mind, I just need to earn this, or I'm not really sure what I want to do. Like, it's not anyone's job to unpick that. Like, you have to be really clear and conscious in your job search for what you want and how you're going to prove that you can do it, because anything woolly, as Laurie has just said, isn't going to get you to the end result. So being really clear about where you want to get to and what the value you bring is the path to success. And that sounds really obvious, but as a recruiter sitting on the outside, I see CVs and applications that don't do any of these things. And the cover letters you also touched on, again, people just, I say, please attach a cover letter and a CV. And I just get a CV. And I'm like, why would you just send me a CV? I am going to read the cover letter, because the cover letter sometimes is better than the CV, because it tells me who you are, why you're doing this. It fills in the gaps that the CV doesn't fill in. And sometimes it pushes them from, no, that's a no, to, I get your story. And now I want to help you because you're showing me who you are and your personality and all of these things. So job search is really strategic. It's really not just about sending off your CV and hoping that someone reads it, spends the time to navigate through it and go, oh, let me just try and work out why I think this person's going to bring value to this job. So we have to work really, really hard up front. So Laurie, let's talk before, since we've talked a lot and I feel like I'm joining you on this because I'm bringing my recruitment as well as your coaching into this. But I want to hear about the B.O.L.D framework that you talk about. Let's talk about that. Let's go, if you could just talk us through your B.O.L.D framework, because I think that's going to give people a structure for how they approach their job search.
Yeah, absolutely. So the B.O.L.D framework is 4 steps to getting a job. And I understand that. And listen, I did a session with another career coach a few weeks ago, and she made me laugh. She said, nobody ever wants to do this, Katie, right? Nobody ever wants to post a LinkedIn flair post telling people they're looking for work, go back to 5 of your previous colleagues and tell them that you're looking and for what. Nobody ever wants to do this stuff, right? But we recommend it. I don't have shares in LinkedIn. I don't have shares in any network. Go or don't. But the reality is, this is what's working right now. So the B.O.L.D framework it stands for build, own, land, and distinguish. So B.O.L.D is about getting exactly what you said, crystal clear on your next step. Look at your own non-negotiables with some understanding that this job market is tough, and start to step into your next level. And if you don't know what you want and you don't know how to get there, I can help with that. But what you can't do is go to recruiters or go to anybody with a kind of wishy-washy, woolly, I don't mind. You have to have it really clear. So a recruiter is not a career coach, and neither are folk at networking there to coach you out of I'm not too sure. You need to kind of show up as I am this and I'm looking for that. That's lovely and clear. So get clear before you start. And just to say, lots of folk don't do this, Katie. They start applying for random jobs, and then when I rein them in, they tell me I don't actually want to do that, or actually, have I got a choice? You're getting made redundant. Have I got a choice? I keep getting approached for financial director jobs. Okay, let's have a look at your LinkedIn. It says you're a financial director. Recruiters are not mind readers. If you want to change that, you have to get clear first. So choose your thing, hone in on your thing. That's your build. Own stands for O stands for own, and that is to recognize, articulate, and celebrate your impact, achievements, and unique strengths. These are your tangible achievements. Katie, you'll agree with me on this. 99.9% of the CVs that we see do not have any numbers on them. So I cannot know if you have held budget of a fiver or £5 million. I cannot know if you've saved, generated, raised, made improvements. I can't know about your productivity improvements. I can't know about your process improvements if you don't tell me. Now, I always feel overjoyed when I get a retailer because they always have numbers on their CV. Otherwise, not so much. So numbers on your CV. And every single person I've ever spoken to says, I can't put numbers because of reason. You're arguing for your own limitations here. Yeah, I don't know them, or I can't because of reason. You can. And you don't need to know them on the top of your head. I can dig for them for you. You do need to have a rough idea that you need to leave a career session. You need to send a CV with some numbers so that they can see where you sit and the scope that you've worked at. So we're owning our achievements. Women are terrible for this. Oh, but it was my team. Yeah, but you led the team. So let's look at what that resulted in. So a couple of things that might trigger this are which led to, which meant that, which resulted in, which enabled. And these are around the work that you have done and what it made happen. The third thing is land, which we do by crafting tailored applications. Cannot send the same application for every job. Leveraging LinkedIn and positioning yourself effectively. Choose what to call yourself and then focus in on that. Show that on LinkedIn. Yes, you want to create a flair post telling people that you're looking and what for. You don't want to go down a negative route here. It's about your value. Nobody wants to sit next to the person who's constantly moaning about recruiters. And by the way, they can read, so they can read it. So it's got to be positive and tailored and professional. And when I say professional, I don't mean I share a lot about my life and everything that I get up to on there, because I'm not an employee, but it has to be cheerful. At the end of the job search, when you have a new job, by all means, go and have a moan or rant, not when you're in the middle of it. That's just not helpful. And then finally, distinguish. So you need to build your credibility, grow your network, and establish yourself as a leader in your field. And that's all about posting, positioning, getting out there, calling yourself the job as if you already have it, because that's where you're going. And this is all about starting with the foundations, getting clear, being sure of what you have to offer, and going out there and getting that job. So that's the B.O.L.D framework.
Okay. So why, not just why are these steps important, but let's start at the beginning. So setting the foundation. So they are what? They are getting your job strategy in terms of what it is that you want very clear. They've said that, yeah.
Yeah.
So being really clear. And what if you're not clear, then you need to get clear before you start. Yes. So you need to
Well,
work
I
with
think
someone or work through that yourself.
yeah, so I've got a process. I do a process where I will help people to get really crystal clear, Katie. But the problem, often folk will say, "Oh, I don't know what I want," and I always say to them, like, "How's that? What's gonna if you don't get help with that? What's gonna change? Like you're 40, with love, you're 47. What's gonna change in you working out what you want next week? It's not. So you probably need someone to help you. It's really clear and easy to me what your next step could be after 10 minutes of talking. It's really clear and easy to me on a call when someone says something they think they might want to do, they pull a face, they pull a face about it. They don't actually want to do it. Often they're saying, I want to do that because they think it's their only option. For example, I had an HR lady the other day who wants to have a bit more of an extended holiday. And she's like, I think I need to be a consultant. She's got absolutely not a notion to go and be a consultant. She just thinks she can't get an extended holiday, and I'm talking like an extra week. I was like, how would it be if you just got through a process with a lovely supportive company and then you just said at the end of it, I take 3 weeks holiday? Oh, is that allowed? Yeah, of course it's allowed. They'll say yes, they'll say no, both are fine. But rather than wasting all this time doing something you don't actually want to do. So often we're arguing for our own limitations. Someone else can see quite clearly, is this realistic? Yes or no? If you position yourself right, you can absolutely do that and have that. And you have to have a level of credibility and seniority to do that. I absolutely acknowledge that. But let's get the foundations absolutely nailed in. What do you want?
Okay. Sorry, I just interrupted you. Go on.
That's all right. No, what do you
I was
want?
about to dive
And is
into
that
it. Yeah.
feasible? Yeah, and is that your next step or is that your one after that? Is there something we need to do in between? If you haven't had budgetary responsibility, how can we get you so that you can tick that box for the next time?
Okay, so I own, which I sort of, in my language, I would probably say impact. So, recognize, articulate, celebrate your achievements. I think that's a really, really, really critical piece that's often missing, which we talked about before, which is what are you bringing? How are you going to make impact? How are you going to get your CV or your application to show that you are going to make impact and bring value to this job? And that's really the level of credibility that you just. So I want to ask you, Laurie, what's your advice on that piece? Because I know you're right. You said you probably see hundreds of CVs. Most of them have no numbers. But even if they don't have numbers, because some people, sales might have numbers, or they'll say, well, I don't have any numbers. More, I grew teams. What did you grow them from to? I worked on projects. What types of projects? What budgets? Everybody who has works in a job will have KPIs probably, or they'll have deliverables. How do you show that you delivered and created impact in that job? That's all Laurie is saying. So it's like when I see a CV and it says, I managed a team of 4. I ran marketing campaigns. How many did you run? Who were they to? What were the results? What was the impact on the bottom line? I never see that in a CV. So if someone's saying in a CV, here's what I did, here's what I delivered, and I can do that for you, I'm like, bring me on because I want you in my business. So that's the bit that's always missing. It's like, well, why are you different from the other CV who's led teams and been a marketing manager and run campaigns? Because I haven't seen the results that you're bringing. So really dig deep, really think about the value that you're bringing. That is an absolute critical piece. Laurie, what other advice do you have for how people can stand out, really stand out? So we're saying this is a crazy market, and it is. I've had a job go live. It's had over 150 applicants. I read CVs for less than a minute each, not even if it doesn't say what it is in the title and the profile, and it doesn't grab me straight away and it doesn't fit. I've got 150 CVs to get through, and that is critically the problem. I'd love to say I sit there and read everyone's CVs top to bottom, but I can't. And actually now I'm putting them into AI with the job description. And I'm saying, is this CV a good fit for this job description? And if it's not, it's not. And AI will come back and say, it's a really good fit for all these reasons, but they're really missing this. So I'm not even reading some of them now. And I think that job seekers need to understand how recruiters and hiring managers are using your CVs. So if your CVs don't have the keywords and they're not saying what it is in the job and there is no match, AI is going to say no because the person who's not reading it is not reading it. And this is how the job market's changing and shifting. And this is what Laurie and I are trying to bring to you today to say, show your impact, stand out, leverage your network, because your network's going to be work a lot harder for you. But if you are going to apply for jobs, show your value, be really conscientious about and considered about what you apply for, and make it quality over quantity every time, making sure that your cover note tells a story. So Laurie, what do you say to someone who's feeling really stuck and really overwhelmed in their job search right now? What can they do? What can they take away from this session to move them from stuck to moving and getting seen in this very, very competitive job market?
Yeah, so first of all, is exactly what you said about those tangible achievements. A good question to ask yourself after every line of your CV is, so what? What did this make happen? So
Agree.
not just civil servants are terrible for this, right? And I work with lots of them. They often say, I went to a meeting, and there's hundreds of meetings, and I know that, right? What happened? And actually, once I've done lots of digging, they'll say, oh, that person really championed what we were doing, and we got £15 million grant. That £15 million grant wasn't on the CV. I had to dig. So, what did your meetings, what did your work, what did your impact make happen? That's the own part. The land part is that tailoring your applications. Have a look at each job description and say, what do they need to see and hear in order to hire? It's not hidden, it's all in there. If they use the word strategic, 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 they want you to have shown that you're strategic. So tell them that in the CV, using the word strategic so that AI picks it up. Yep, this is a tick. And then give them a specific example in the covering letter of a time when you had to have strategic oversight of something. And then the next part of that is that using LinkedIn to really have a look at who's already doing the jobs that you want to do, who's already in, have a look at their career journey. Can you start to build relationships there? I'm not talking about spamming people or asking for help, you don't feel, but how can you use LinkedIn to go back to previous colleagues and tell them that you're looking and for what? I got a great email the other morning that said 76% of people find a job through their network, but only something like 16% find them through job boards. But I bet you any money you're spending most of your time on job boards, applying for the same job as everybody else, and not enough time.
Or
How many
LinkedIn,
of
which
you?
is,
Yeah,
so just sorry, but LinkedIn, just to say, is the hardest place to find a job, even though it's a job board. So it's amazing for networking, but the candidates I speak to, the whole fast application, anyone could just click a CV, hundreds of them, overwhelmed from hiring managers who tell me every day that they put their job ad on LinkedIn, but they've got hundreds of rubbish CVs because they haven't got
hundreds.
time to go through them all. So LinkedIn, from a job search point of view, from a networking point of view, I should say, is really, really powerful. But by
Brilliant.
God, it's demoralizing when you're applying for jobs on LinkedIn and you go quick apply, quick apply. Oh, this job's got 300 applicants already and it's only been live for 5 seconds. And you're like, oh my God, how do I
Yeah.
get seen? How do I? And that is the
Ah,
market. And that's why you're not getting seen. So it's changing the strategy. It's not just throwing
yeah.
your CV through LinkedIn, it's looking who the hiring manager is. You know what? Sometimes you look through the hiring manager is on LinkedIn and you send them a message and go, hey, I just saw that job that you advertised. I'm going to apply, but here's why I'm great. And can I send you my CV? Like, go around the back door. Like, don't apply through LinkedIn.
Always.
Find ways to get yourself in front of the hiring manager without going to, quick apply. Um,
Yeah.
that's my main piece of advice, Laurie. I don't know if you agree, but if you can find the hiring manager,
Absolutely
find
agree. Yeah.
them a message. Say, hi, I know you've probably been inundated, but I can do everything. Can I have a chat? They're going to be relieved
Yeah.
because quite frankly, they don't want to go through 500 CVs. Most of them are absolute crap. I do it, I see
Yeah.
it, I know it. So I'm being very honest and being very transparent, but we are here to tell you, coach, recruiter, hiring manager, it's tough. You need to get visible, use your networks.
Yeah.
Are there any
Yeah.
tools or
Use your
resources
network.
apart from LinkedIn that you can help? Or we're running out of time. We've got 5 minutes. Do people want to ask any questions? Laurie, is there anything that you want to kind of leave people with as, what's one thing that they could do each day, or what's one small change that someone could do right now to help them get from stuck to hired?
Yeah, go through your network. Who did you work with in your last job? Where are they now? Doesn't really matter, but tell them that you're looking. Send them a LinkedIn message. Don't worry about, oh, I haven't spoken to them for a while. Women call this using people. Men call it leveraging their network. Go to them, tell them you're looking for work and what for, not just wishy-washy, I'm looking for a job. That could be anything. Tell them the sort of work you're looking for, where, flex, so that they can get as close as they can. While we're on the subject of get as close as you can, as Katie says, you see it on LinkedIn, go and find it on the company's own job site, find out who's recruiting it, find out, get to them as close as you can. Recruiters won't answer a gazillion emails if you just say, hey, I've applied for that job. They will answer if you say, hey, I've already managed budgets at this level, this and this. You're actually, as Katie said, doing them a favour, because who wants to serve 500 not very good CVs? Nobody's got time for that. So get as close as you can, contact the recruiter if you fit. If you don't, and it's a bit, oh, but I'd like, they're not interested in, I'd like to, the client pays them, not the candidate. Remember that. So they have specific rules about what the client will and will not accept, and they're usually absolutely set in stone. But if you have that network built where you can say, I've got someone in the company looking out for a CV, that becomes a different conversation. And the last thing is, if you haven't already, do a LinkedIn flare post, which is when you put up the flare that you're looking for work. You do it professionally. You don't slag off your last company. You say you're looking for work and what for, where, etc., etc., so that people know and can help you. And if you don't get lots of traction on it, guess what? Katie and I don't get to just promote our businesses once, right, one post and then beetle off into the night. We have to do it again. So not daily, a different way of writing it. When I worked here, I did this, give some recommendations, give out some love, give other people some love, and ask for some help. Use your network, use LinkedIn. Job sites are the least likely place to get a job, but they're probably the place you're spending the most of your time. So think about that network. And I always get, again, argued saying, but I didn't go well there or such. Don't worry about anything that's not going well. Who would advocate for you and speak for you and say, yes, this is a good person? Start with them and then work down your list. Do it strategically, and then think about creating a LinkedIn presence. Make it clear, do I know what you help with, for whom and how? If not, get in and do that. Don't overthink it. Nobody's sitting judging you on a wet Wednesday reading your about section, but they do need to know that you are their person. Yeah. They will, recruiters will look, so make it clear how you can help them.
True. And don't overthink it, because every time that you go, oh, I can't send this, I can't put this out there because I feel vulnerable and I don't want to put it out there, like, no one cares. People want to help. Genuinely, they do. We get in our own way with this, because every time I go to put a post on LinkedIn, I think, what are people going to say? Is this okay? But no one cares. They scroll, they spend a second on it. But this is your life. You have to put yourself out there. And I would say, as much as LinkedIn is fantastic, you're also part of an amazing community, which is flexible working people. People find jobs through that, not through jobs that I post. There are hundreds of hiring managers and recruiters and all sorts of people in our community. There's 76,000 people in the Facebook group. And if you put a flare post in there, not just, I don't know what I'm doing, the posts that say, I don't know what to do, but I want to work 2 days a week and I've got a bit of admin experience, they're not going to get you a job. But if you say, I'm an experienced project manager looking to transition into this, has anyone got advice for how I can do this? You're going to get a lot of people helping you, because there's going to be a lot of people, or I'm a teacher and I'm looking to get out of the teaching profession. Has anyone transitioned out of the teaching profession? What kind of ideas do you have? You're going to get a lot of volume response on that, because people want to help. The posts that get no response are, I want to work 3 days a week because I have, 2 kids I want to pick up from school. I don't mind what I do, but I need to work between the hours of 10 and 2, and I'm pretty good at admin. I mean, that's what I see, and that's not going to get any response. So be clear, as Laurie said, use your networks and your communities. You've got LinkedIn, you've got flexible working people. Use those people, because, there's people in there who's going to see, wow, project man, I'm looking for a project manager. I don't have to pay recruitment fees because I've just seen this post on flexible working people. And if I don't have to pay for an ad, and I don't have to go to LinkedIn, and I can just find this amazing person, here they are. So really know that by you putting yourself out there, you're actually doing recruiters and hiring managers a favor, because you're exposing your brilliant skills, and they're like, I'm jumping all over you because this is a free recruit. So, make sure that you leverage your platforms and your networks and all the opportunities that you've got to shout about who you are, what your experience is, and the value that you bring. So I hope that session was helpful. Laurie, that was brilliant. I feel like we both just shouted at everybody for 45 minutes because we're both really passionate. But I don't know if we've got time. Has anyone got any questions? I can't see the chat box either because it's disappeared. But if anyone wants to take themselves off mute and ask a question, we've kind of got 3 minutes. I need to close at 12:50, 4 minutes for questions. So if anyone's got an urgent question now, jump on and ask. Otherwise, Laurie is in the Facebook group. She's on LinkedIn. You can access. Oh, I've got Rita, lots of stuff. So if you love the session, give us a thumbs up or a heart because we can see those coming up. And if you've got anything to say or a question, and you can drop it in a box, drop it. If not, Laurie's on LinkedIn. Laurie's now joined as one of our partners. She's in our flexible working directory, so she's going to be much more present. And I'm sure that she'd be very happy to help you with any questions, or if you do want to work with a career coach, she will be your woman in job search strategy. So I hope everyone found that useful. Laurie, thank you so much for your time, and everybody who's watching. I haven't got any questions. No one's come off mute. So best of luck with your job search. Show impact, get tailored, get stuck in, network, 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 and tell everyone on Flexible Working People that, you know, this is what I want and how are you going to help me, because people want to help. Laurie, any last words before we go?
No, exactly that. People genuinely do want to help. And I really saw this during COVID. You know, the usual barriers have been broken down. I had airline pilots coming on my session saying, I need to get a job with Morrison's. People desperately want to help, but they need to know how. And they can only do that when you make it clear to them. So first step is, what do you want? And let's go and get it.
Yes. And you can do it. Just show impact and quality over quantity.
Always.
All right. Good luck, everybody. Hope you found that
Thanks
useful.
a lot now.
Bye.
Bye.